make their point and move on. Very much. That was quick. Thank you very much. So we go straight on to apologies for absence. I have the Mayor, Councillor Michelle Thomas, and everybody else is here. I should be chairing the meeting. The Mayor normally chairs this committee, but I will be chairing the meeting. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Councillor Ken Harlett. Item 2, declaration of interest. Does anybody have any interest on any item on the agenda this evening? Let's see, none. Item 3 is to approve the minutes of the planning committee held on the 2nd of August 2022, first by Councillor Gavashak, second by Councillor Clark. All in favour? Thank you. Public participation. If any members of the public would like to speak on any item on the agenda this evening, I can see we have 3 speakers. I'll allow you up to 3 minutes. It's normally 2 minutes, but I'm going to give you an extra minute this evening because that's the kind of guy I am. So, who would like to speak first? If you can tell me which item on the agenda you are speaking to.
I'll go first. I haven't been on one of these before.
Would you mind standing up and...
So apologies. Yeah, so my name is Dr. Mike Christam. I'm going to be speaking on a revised application of 2A Wilson Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I live at 190 Reading Road, and there's been an application for a 1-bedroom property at 2A Wilson Avenue. It's actually been rejected several times by SODC. And I have several grounds for objection. The first one is the revised proposal does not actually make any specific details about how it's been revised from the previous proposals that were rejected. So, for example, the statement will say something like the roof line has been reduced, but doesn't provide any figures at all. It will also say things like that the property has been slightly changed from the previous application, but doesn't provide any details. So without these details, I can't see how it can be yay or nay, because it's just non-specific. Okay. The next one would be that it breaks quite a few of the South Oxfordshire District Council design guidelines. So I've got a list of them in here, but effectively the 2A Wilson Avenue is being built on a very small plot. It's based on the footprint of a garage and a shed attached to it. And it's going to be excavating 45 square meters underneath the property with about 20 square meters on top. But the problem is it's completely out of keeping with the area, and it's the design guidelines it breaks are it's too close to neighbouring properties. So specifically, the design guidelines, SOTC design guidelines, suggest at least 10 meters between the side gable of a property and the nearest habitable room of an adjacent property. Well, it's about 6 meters. It breaks that by about 4 meters. And SOTC also say that the distance between the back of a property and the adjacent garden and nearest garden, that's not mine. It's 188 Reading Road in this case, should be 10 meters, and it's about 20 centimeters. And it's also breaking environmental guidelines as well. So, for example, there's a car parking space there, and the car parking space is effectively 40 centimeters from my back garden, and my family have a history of asthma, and so I'm very worried about pollutants from the adjacent car. Now, I know 190 Reading Road is where I live. It's on a main road. We all know that. But actually, if you look at the data, the pollutants drop off massively over a few meter scale. So there's significantly more pollution from the new car than there would be from Reading Road, even though because we're in the back garden. Yeah. Let me just have a quick check on what my third point was. Yeah, so also the review implies that the neighbours, if not in agreement with it, are not opposed to it. But you'll see in the previous objections to the previous proposals that there's almost there is universal universal condemnation of the new property. So nobody's spoken in favour. In fact, the only people that have spoken in favour are agreed, I think, of the town council. Hence I'm here today to get across the point of the neighbours. And the last point I'll make, I know I'm running out of my 3 minutes, is that there are several small children very close to the new property. I've got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. There's a 6-month-old and an 18-month-old moved in just next door, and so we're worried about the pollution and so on from the new house, and also the fact that it's so close to neighbouring properties. Okay, I'm done. I'll put it down. How are they doing for time? By the way?
Does anybody have any questions?
Yep.
Councillor Gavin.
Talking about the pollution.
Sorry, excuse
Yeah.
me, hold on. Did you speak? No?
No, but I will.
Okay,
Can I get down?
Hold on, wait. Okay, just start. Councillor Clark, did you have a question?
What you're asking was, you're talking about the pollution in Wilson Avenue. Now, I know for a fact there's a lot of traffic comes down that road.
Yeah.
And they're queued up waiting to get out onto the Reading Road. So that is going to cause more pollution.
You're right. Do I answer now?
Yeah, go
Okay, so you're absolutely right. The Reading Road itself, which our house fronts onto, it even more. There are even more cars that run down that than there are that come down Wilson Avenue. But pollution varies on a metre by metre scale. So if you're 40 centimetres away from something, that's much worse than being 2.4 metres away from something, or 10.4 metres away from something. A lot worse. I can dig out the data if you like. I'm a scientist, by the way.
on. Okay, no, that's fine, thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Gavin, do you wish to speak?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
A few things. This is the dwelling that is replacing the garage.
Yeah.
So therefore, presumably, it already had a car in the garage. Therefore, in a way, that negates what you're saying in terms of that. That's sort of a question. And then the car will pull off the road in forward. I think they may well with us and then pull it back. And it's likely to be a forward movement. And therefore the exhaust pipe will be back. And also with modern cars are getting more and more efficient, etc. That's my first point.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll go a second.
I'll answer that one first of all. Yes. Okay. So first of all, the garage at the moment is on the opposite side of the property to where the car parking space would be. So they have a garage. There is a car in it. It's not been used since I've been in the house 15 years. But I accept there is a car in there. They could reverse in and out should they so wish. Fine. But that's on the opposite side of the property to where the proposed car parking space is. So again, you run into this problem of scale, of metre by metre scale, which makes a big difference. The second point is that the car is actually absolutely adjacent to the fence, and the other side of the fence is a children's playhouse. Okay, I put that out there before I knew that there was going to be a car there. So again, you're down to problems of scale. It's 20 or 40 centimetres away from the doorstep. Yes, cars are cleaner than they used to be, and in 20 years' time, whenever we've got electric cars, this particular objection, although not the others I made, would not be a problem. But unfortunately, we are where we are.
Okay, thanks for that one. Susan, do you have anything else?
Yes,
You
yes.
wanna move?
The other bit was the scale and the massing of the new property compared with, and I can ask the applicant if I speak, about your points about the roof line. But what is the scale and massing of the new property compared with the existing garage?
So the scale and mass of the new properties has got a different use, hasn't it? It's proposed to be a house as opposed to a garage.
Yeah, but the point is that the lump, which is the garage there at the moment.
There is a lump, yeah, sure.
And
Yeah,
that is being replaced by a lump.
yeah, it is. But a garage
And that's all I'm saying.
does not count as a habitable room as far as SODC is concerned. So a garage, if it's just a garage, that's absolutely fine. It's not a habitable room, and so it does not count again in the SODC guidelines. If it's converted into a house, then you have extra protections, I guess, from SODC, protections in inverted commas, which bring in all these meter distances.
Okay, I think we've had enough questions and enough answers on this one. Thank you very much. No, not really. Anybody else wish to speak? The gentleman there.
Yeah, it's on a different one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my name's Mr. Cooper. I'm here about 5 Parkside.
Yeah.
We're building a new house there.
So what number, your number,
It's
no, not number house in Parkside,
number 5.
your number 5.
I am number
You're the
5.
applicant.
I'm the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I'm speaking in support of it. Yes, so I live there with my wife at number 5 Parkside. It's actually, we've got a 2-acre garden. We're lucky, we've got a 2-meter wall that runs around that. And the plan is to divide that garden in 2 halves and then build a house for us to retire in. We're going to live in it on the 1 half. And currently there is an all-weather tennis court there. So we're building this property on an existing tarmac tennis court. We've actually already spoken extensively with SOBC with pre-planning, and they confirmed the principle of the house at that location, previously developed land within the clear boundaries of the Parkside, etc. Also, you might remember at various applications happening in Parkside Wood, which we have no connection with. He used to own my house, but he doesn't anymore. And they've also said that if they do accept this house, it wouldn't make any impact on that application, on any future applications in Parkside Wood. So though we're near, it's separated. We've got 3 objectives with the house. So we want a quality high-end home typical of Parkside and the surrounding ring of Henley. We want to avoid all the trees that are in that area. But also we want to build a 0 carbon house, 100% 0 carbon. We've sited the house in the plot to make that it means it won't be visible by any other house apart from our current one, and that's well separated with a hedge. So no other house will see it. The only view that passers-by would get was when they're actually driving along Parkside. They'll see the roof high the roof above a 2-meter wall, and we've actually got a 4.5-meter yew hedge on that side as well. So there'll be very limited views of any of this from outside. We've chosen exterior finishes straight out the SOBC style guide, so vertical wood slats and rendering on the bottom. We think that will make it fit within the trees very well, and it's similar to nearby houses as well in Parkside and Packham 5. They all have those elements. But the most important thing is, we designed the house to achieve 0 carbon. And I think with this summer, it's a good example of why we need to do that. So we've fabric first passive house approach. It's constructed from thick wood panels, so insulated panels about this thick. It's precision built for air tightness, triple glazed windows, large area to the front, which is south facing, and small to the back. That also helps the fact that we don't want light to go in that direction, because Parkside Wood, which is protected habitat, and A&OB are on that side, but they're hidden behind the hedge and a lot of trees in that direction, but small windows too. But going back to the 0 carbon, heat recovery, ventilation, air source, heat pumps. We don't have any fossil fuels at all heating the house. And on the roof, we've actually got a large monopitch roof on there, which allows us to have a large solar panel. It's at a 15-degree angle, so fairly low pitch. But that means that you won't be able to see the solar panels. Obviously, if you have a higher pitch, some people don't like the look of solar panels, but that will hide it. But it also gives a very big, we think we get 24 kilowatts up there. And so we've done the calculations, and we think we'll be completely self-sufficient in energy over the year.
Could I ask you to sum up, please?
So, yeah, okay. So 0 carbon, and also in the build, because we're building it out of wood, that sequestrates 50 tons of CO2. We'll lose some of that with a concrete foundation, but that will be negative as well. And so I'd ask you to support it, I know that you think the climate emergency is important, and you've also put a lot of advice about building houses like this in the new neighbourhood plan. And so this is a direct response to what you put in the new neighbourhood plan, which we very much support. So thank you.
Anybody wish to ask any questions? Councillor Clark.
May I ask, which side of the house your house at the moment, right out to the back house?
The driveway will join our existing driveway. It's an open plan park side, and our drive goes across an area of grass through a gate and then goes off to the main house. And at that point, it will be another drive going off to the other house. So the frontage will change very little.
Councillor, let me just stop with Councillor Clark. If you looked at the plan, it shows you on the plan exactly where the house is and the design of the plan.
So I
The
know
design of
where
the house is. Yeah, okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to ask a question? No, okay. Anybody else wish to speak?
Yeah.
Just give your name.
Good evening to you all, and I do apologise for being back again. I knew exactly what I was going to say to you, and it's quite short, but I get nervous when I'm talking, so I might need to refer to my notes a little bit. We've been on a rather slow circuit, and seem to have ended up back at start. But on the way, however, we have acquired provision for a heat pump at property, hot water cylinder tank, and another energy consumption. More recently,
Sorry, we're talking about 2A Wilson Avenue.
sorry,
We're talking about 2A Wilson Avenue.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
thank
I
you.
beg your
Okay,
pardon,
thank you.
yes, sorry, I beg your pardon. A heat pump, a hot water cylinder, new energies, and more recently, a few new adaptations have been made. I strongly believe Mr. Giuliani to be a man of integrity, and I am absolutely certain that he has never broken or bypassed any building regulation, despite some of the neighbours trying, protecting otherwise. Obviously, I'm hoping we come to the same agreement as last time. When you did pass it, and I thought very thoughtful notion of it being, if I recall, nicely designed on infill and more the same needed in Henry. At the end of the day, Mr. Giuliani has just tried to provide me with what is now very small, very green, low impact dwelling, which will sit, I'm sure, quite happily on its own little point. And I think the impact on the community as a whole will be very limited. I can't avoid as regards the pollution. At the moment, I have a little Hyundai car, which will shortly become an electric one. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Anybody wish to ask a question? Councillor Galveston.
It would only be fair. The gentleman that spoke earlier actually mentioned that the roof line had been reduced by how much, and that you had said that there were subtle changes that they weren't
Sorry.
denoted.
Are you speaking to me?
Well,
Yes, I'm
you
sorry.
may wish to answer it, maybe you
Well,
are.
no, if that's Mr. Giuliani, he hasn't spoken, so it's sorry.
Right. So then the question is, how much has the roof line been reduced? And what subtle changes have you made to the design?
Well,
No, Mr. Giuliani, you had the chance to speak, but you haven't spoken. So,
Can I answer?
well, I know.
well, unless you wish to speak, you can't take questions. So if you wish to speak,
Yeah, please.
I'll then allow you to answer a question.
Okay, I find.
Okay, so you wish to speak then, Mr. Giuliani? No, stand up. Do you wish to speak?
Thanks.
Right.
Yes,
No, could you speak to the application and then you can take a question afterwards?
You have to speak first, and then I'll ask my questions.
Can you stand up, Mr. Giuliani? Do you wish to speak to the application If you do, once you've spoken, I'll allow councillor Gavishak to ask you a question, but I'm not going to allow councillor Gavishak to ask you a question if you haven't spoken.
Okay, right, I should speak.
Thank you. Well, can you stand up and speak then, please?
Yeah, hi. I'll go through the note here. Planning application. This application is very similar to the application S3570 last year in September. The amendments include, in this application, include further adjustments to the concerns of neighbours, including improved screening wall preventing already restricted overlooking of 2 Wilson Avenue, reduction of the mass of the entrance lobby enclosure both in height and length to further reduce any perceived intrusion into the garden of 190 Reading Road, and the option of utilising the existing drop curb area for car parking to deal with the comment from 190 Reading Road that exhaust fumes from a car parked on the proposed site could impinge on their garden. Now, at the moment, the drop curb is being used by 190 often for other cars for parking. Other amendments dealing with habitable areas and energy assessments are not relevant to neighbours' interests. So, I mean, it covers some of the issues. It is acknowledged that the site is restricted, but through careful design and extensive consideration of the conditions of neighbouring properties over some time, a dwelling, a home, with excellent amenity can be provided, although it's tight. Now, it was recognised by the Town Council last year. In regard to comments by neighbours, it's accepted they might have views of what is in keeping. I mean, that isn't particularly, I don't think it's concerned of Mike Christian, but I don't want to speak on his behalf. But some might can question building densities and materials and what have you.
Yeah, can you just stick to the application?
Now, also the planning rules can be misunderstood in given that some of the neighbours' objections to overlooking because they've been set back. But effectively, this proposal has taken very serious note of neighbours' comments and has gone to pretty long lengths, great lengths, to deal with them, and at the same time, produce a small single person home.
Can you sum up, please?
Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Right, councillor Gavishak, would you still like to ask a question, or are you okay now?
Just one question, because you detailed the subtle changes that have been. The roof line has been reduced by how much?
The roof line of the main building remains the same, but the mass of the lobby, which was included to enclose the entrance door, so it didn't overlooking the neighbours, that has been reduced by about 300 millimetres, and the overall length, I think, about between 300 and 500 millimetres.
Thank you.
The lobby has been reduced.
That's all, Chair.
Anybody else wish to answer any question? If not, going to move on. Okay, well, we're moving on. Mr. Luckett, no?
Not tonight.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on then to item 5, which are plans amended on page 9 of your agenda. Excuse me, we've got a meeting going on here, thank you. Page 9 of your agenda, the first item is P21/S4271/reserve matters. Who would like to speak on this? Councillor Gavishak.
I'll propose acceptance of the amendments. I think they're perfectly reasonable and it's part of the process going through. So I propose acceptance. Thank you.
Councillor Clark, second.
Yeah.
Would you like to mention anything about bird boxes and whatever?
Hedges and fences and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Would you like any of that mentioned in our observations?
Yes, I would, but according to the applicant, the energy efficiency of this development is going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm just more concerned about the skylarks and the.
Oh, you are.
Hedge
Right, okay. So can we actually add that, in fact, if there are fences, they should have access to hedgehogs and the bottom of the fences should be lifted? Thank you.
Okay, you speak.
Yeah, it's no good them putting the hedgehog hole in the fences in the dwellings, it has to be around the border as well, and as you said.
Yeah.
That when the trees, definitely good, when the trees are mature, they would have to then remove that boundary fence. Because the wildlife,
There isn't going to be a boundary fence.
there isn't, because you did say there was.
No, the surrounding area is just trees. So that's, I'm not worried about the surrounding area. What I am worried about is the between houses fencing. And that's where you should have it lifted to 15 centimetres.
Councillor Clark.
I'll bring out one point, you're talking about hedgehogs and wildlife, now, I was recycling ship bank now, and I had a deer come down my road the other day, to Marksman Woods.
Fantastic.
So does that cover then the wildlife to go behind this development?
Although we don't put fence.
Right, okay, that's why I mentioned the deer. Anybody want to mention any other animals before we go to the vote?
Slow burn.
Okay, all in favour of the proposal? That's carried, thank you.
No,
That's carried. Okay. Item 2, P22 S1993 full 1 Bellevue Road. Councillor Gavesha.
I propose acceptance of the amendment and it's same comments that we said before, recommend approval. Thank you.
Councillor, seconded. Anybody wish to speak on this? No, okay, all
Yeah.
those in, sorry, come on, Councillor Cook.
regarding the Henley Society notes, they're concerned at the overbearing nature of this proposal, especially given that the property next door is a bungalow and the placement of air source heat pumps particularly insensitive to that bungalow. Because there should be air source heat pump, so it's not annoying the neighbours.
Okay.
Relocate the position of the air source heat pump.
Sorry, what are you saying?
Can they relocate the position of the air source heat pump? Because it's insensitive to the neighbour, which is.
Would you have that in council? No, you won't, okay, sorry. Okay, right, all in favour of approval? That's carried, thank you. Next item is P22/S2185/HH25 Nicholas Road. Councillor Gavesha.
I propose acceptance of these amendments as we recommended approval to the last planning application, provided it's remaining in ancillary use.
Yeah.
For the main building. Yep.
You got that?
Ancillary use possible.
That's taken by councillor Clark. Anybody wish to speak on that? All in favour? That's carried. Next item is P22/S2273/HH Parkview 10A Manor Road. Councillor Clark.
Recommend refusing again, the same grounds as before.
Yeah. Second by councillor Gavesha.
Yeah.
Anybody wish to speak on that? Yeah, I think I pulled this one in, so I'm not going to speak on it, but I hear where you're coming from. Yeah. All in favour of refusal? It's unanimous.
We note in the minutes that will be unanimous, because it's
Yeah.
it's a full development.
Okay, move on to item 6, plans new, on page 11 of the agenda. The first one is P22/S2538/H8 46 St Mark's Road. Councillor Gavesha.
I propose acceptance. I think it's perfectly reasonable.
Okay, seconded by councillor Plant. Anybody else wish to speak? All in favour? That's carried. The next item, I'll take the two together, P22/S2556/HH and P22/S2557 listed building, Corner House, Hop Gardens. Councillor, I'm going to go to Councillor Norwich City, it's all coming back, Councillor Evans.
I propose acceptance, providing the conservation officer hasn't raised any concern.
Okay, seconded by councillor Park. Yeah. Okay, anybody wish to speak on that? Okay, all in favour? I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it.
I was like, right, Toby, come on.
Oh, I shall- Okay, all in favour of approval? Right, the next application, I'm going to ask Jody to speak on this one. P22/S2589/4. This is the Phyllis Court Club, Phyllis Court Drive. We also have Mr. Duckett here, Mr. Luckett, sorry. Any comments to make? Oh, no. Councillor Park.
Approval.
Seconded by councillor Raymond.
Well, the only comment is that, if they are raising the flat with beer storage, that's gonna be good.
More beer.
More beer.
Don't you have to declare an interest, let's bring it to a social.
Because we do beer.
We only told us beer.
I thought somebody may have wished.
So we get an issue.
I thought somebody may have wished to go for a side visit, actually. Okay, all in favour of approval? That's unanimous, thank you. Next one, P22/S2590/HH, flat 337 St Andrews Road, proposed porch. Councillor Clark,
Approval, very straightforward.
seconded by councillor Gavashak, you're too late that time, councillor Evans, like no city. Anyway, all in favour of approval? That one's carried, thank you. Next item, P22/S2598/HA 13 St Mark's Road. Have you got anything to say on this one? No comment by Jody. Councillor Gavashak,
I propose acceptance.
seconded by councillor Clark.
Yeah, was that Parkside?
No.
It's got the wrong way
St Mark's Road.
round.
Yeah, fine, confusing. Approval.
Oh, keep up, Jack.
Sorry.
Okay, all in favour of that? That's carried. The next one is P22/S2608/4, Windmill House 5 Parkside, Henley on Thames, which is what we had the speaker this evening, spoke on that one. Yeah, I'd like to count.
So yeah, they've received a pre-application by SMSAPC saying that it's broadly acceptable in principle. They noted that there were several mature trees that were protected, and that there would be benefit from arboricultural advice. They're still waiting on comments from the forestry officer. And the drainage officer are asking for a strategy. There's no objections from the highways, and CPI are requesting blast and tube light spillage. Those are my comments.
Councillor Evans.
I recommend approval, subject to a report from the forestry officer as outlined by Jody.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by councillor Gavashak.
Yeah, it looks like a good design. It's a large plot, so therefore it, and to actually design a passive house in that area is got to be good news. And thank you for coming and talking about the application.
Councillor Park.
Drainage, I've lost the page now, but drainage should have a report on something. Two criteria that it wanted to be met. So I was just going to say, as long as the 3 forestry, drainage, highways, they do have recommendations in that.
Councillor Park.
Question I've got a little bit here in terms of the mention of the objection from number 4, about the restrictive covenants. Is there a restrictive covenant? Other than that, I like the sound of that place. It sounds like a really good idea, or good build. Or the only question about going back up.
Right.
If you want to answer that, yeah, thank you.
It might be separate from planning, otherwise the officer will
Yeah.
print it out, but I think it's probably separate.
We did receive a 3-page reason for refusal from number 4 Parkside.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if everybody received that. Councillor Hilliard.
It definitely is a separate matter, covenants. It's illegal, it's nothing to do with planning, so we can't say anything about that.
So anybody else like to speak on this one? No, anybody would like to sum up?
Yes, I'll happily sum up. So proposal of acceptance, subject to a forestry officer report, officer report, sorry, and to incorporate points raised by councillors, Plant and Buckley regarding drainage and communication.
Fine, okay, all in favour? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's carried. Thank you. Next item is P22 4//S2648 full Tree Tops House, Gillett's Lane. Councillor Gebser.
Those acceptance.
Seconded Councillor Plant. Anybody wish to speak on this? No, okay, all in favour? It's unanimous. And the last one on this page, P22 4/S2671 full 9 to 11 Bell Street. Kelly?
Yes, so the principle of the development would be acceptable, but there's concerns over the impact on neighbours' amenity. And they did receive some pre-application advice, who raised concerns over the view along Bell Street, and the northern elevation of the structure in terms of its impact on the street scene. And the 4th story would be calling out character of the adjacent buildings. The air quality officers requested an air quality assessment, and the waste management officer has requested more information on how the waste would be collected. No objections from highways. Thank you.
Councillor Crook.
I recommend refusal because I was looking and what it said about there's no parking provision. What they took was that it's got good transport links. So that was their reason why it didn't have our parking. But no, people wouldn't need cars. And then it said about the visitors could go and stay in the car park. I mean, what for just 3 hours? If you have visitors staying overnight, they've got nowhere to park. People will start parking outside in Sainsbury's and cobble that up. And also it makes the upstairs where they have less room to store the products. I did speak to a lady that worked there, but she works over there now, and said they now have less space. And then the people living above Sainsbury's will then be complaining when they're rolling their trolleys and they won't be able to get to sleep. And also the impact on the neighbours from the building dust and everything, so, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's erosion of shops as well, it's a slow, steady path,
Okay,
we
thank
don't
you.
want that.
But I'll second for that. Councillor Rowlands, like to speak?
No.
Okay, anybody else like to speak on this? I'm going to speak on this one. I was speaking to somebody the other day, I won't say who, but there's just so many flats now going over shops, and it is exactly what Councillor Cook's saying. It's diminishing the storage area for some of these shops, so you probably won't be able to let some if they keep building a number of flats over the shops, and it does diminish the store, and I totally agree with that. I think the visual impact needs to come into this one as well, you know, with the extra building on top. I just don't think we need any more flats. I think we're just flatted out in Henley at the moment with the amount of flats over previous shops, and we've got them all the way down here now. And I think we're going to come on to another one in a minute. We're just getting too many. You know, we need to keep these storage areas there. They want 1 or 2 flats, fine, but when you're talking about 4 or 5, it's just too many. You're just cramming them in. But the main thing is the parking. Again, we get back to the parking all the time in Henley. There is a lack of parking. And if they can't produce any car park spaces, you know, I don't think we should live off this one. This is a good bus route, you can catch a train, etc., etc. You know, the majority of people, I believe, in flats do have cars, but that's just my view. Right, so we got it down for refusal, proposed by Councillor Cook, seconded by Councillor Romans. So all in favour for refusal. You don't have reasons. Okay, that's unanimous, by the way. Thank you. Go on to the next page, page 12. Page 12, P22 4/S2686 4/HH 13 to 15 Walton Avenue. No comment. Councillor Gauchat.
Propose acceptance.
Seconded by Councillor Plant. Anybody wish to speak? Okay, all in favour of that? Thank you. P22 S2691/DPO 1216 Marketplace. We just explain what that is.
Yeah, so normally this change wouldn't require planning permissions, it could be done under committee department. However, there's a legal obligation in place that states planning permission is required for anything other than a shop, which this wouldn't fall under that definition. Of the class order 1972. Thank you.
We'd like to, Councillor Clark.
I would approve this as the benefit.
Councillor Gavin.
Second.
Anybody like to speak? I'm going to speak against this, and I'll vote against it as well. My view is we've got sufficient takeaway shops in the town, and this one is part of a takeaway shop. It suggests that there won't be any tables and chairs, but when you go onto their website, they've got other shops similar which have tables and chairs outside the property, and I do not believe we need another big delicatessen, and that's, I believe, what it is. And I don't believe we need any more takeaway coffee shops, especially in the marketplace. I think there's plenty there. Hopefully they're all trading fairly well, but my view is we don't need to encourage another one. We want more retail in the town, and I think that's a prime example. It's been retail over the years, and one or two of you obviously want to change that from retail to kind of delis and takeaways, which I don't support. Anybody else like to speak? Councillor
I
Hill.
think I ought to abstain on this one because I'm in hospitality, but I do agree that hospitality works hand in hand with retail, and the erosion of retail is actually damaging to hospitality, more so than the competition of another hospitality outlet. I don't support it, but I won't vote on it.
Councillor Clark.
I'm going to have to abstain from this because of the.
That's fine, okay, can you say anything else? That's fine.
Yeah.
Right, we have a proposer and a second. Anybody else wish to speak? We've got a proposer and a seconder, proposed for approval, seconded, all in favour of approval. 3, all against.
I'm abstaining, but
3, that's 3 all, and my vote will go for refusal. No, it's 3. Yeah, 3 over there. 3 over here. So I'll vote for refusal on the reasons that of loss of retail. Right, thank you.
It's 3-3, unlike a Norwich school mine. What is imputed tonight?
Right, here we go again. P22/S2708/full 19 to 21 Bell Street.
So this is for the conversion of the rear section of the ground floor retail and for the first floor and second floor. It goes alongside the other one that we've just considered. Again, conservation area, there's no objections from highways, and air quality assessments being requested, and also more information.
Councillor Crook,
it's all same ground again.
it's previous.
Why are they trying to ruin our town centres?
Okay.
Why are they? We're going to have no shops left because it'll be just living places. I'm sorry, it makes me so living cross.
Yeah.
Why don't we go and build that somewhere else?
Is that a reason for refusal being cross?
No, because we're ruining our town centre.
Right, so I've got
The other
a
reason to
I've got a proposal for refusal,
I'll second that.
seconded by Councillor Clark, thank you. Who would like to speak on this? Okay, anybody else like to speak? I totally agree. Let me finish, Ron. Don't you say?
Sorry.
Right, I totally agree with this again. This one takes storage away from the ground floor on this one, providing a flat and then obviously the next 4 flats above. And it's another one. You know, there's problem with the waste, problem with cars, no cars there, and it's just chopping up everything. Sorry?
It's going to be rejected.
So we've got proposal for refusal, seconded by Councillor Clark, all in favour of refusal. 5, 6. Thank you. P22/S2710/H66 St Andrews Road. Councillor Clark.
Approval.
Approval, seconded by, you seconded approval,
Yes.
councillor Clark. Anybody wish to speak on this? No, all in favour? That's carried, thank you. Next one, P 22/S2712/A advertising 1216 marketplace. This is similar to the one on the flat. This is just for advertising consent. Councillor Hillier.
I actually don't have a problem with this, and I've got vinyl stickers myself, but the point is, this is for Planet Organic. And I don't profess to be organic, so that's fine. But the vinyl is made using chemicals and not plant-based, so I think if they're opening a Planet Organic, they ought to carry that through to their signage as well.
So is that a proposal?
So I would propose refusal, actually. I think they need to rethink it with the type of shop that they're opening.
So
That's a really.
so let's,
I know it's not a planning reason, it's,
sorry. Okay, well, just a second.
but I think you should take in mind probably the shopping guide as well for the main area of the town. And just if they're happy with it, so.
Councillor Gavashan.
I will second this, yes, the shop front guide, I mean, it says wood and paint.
Yeah.
So, certainly, yeah, the stickers on the glazing. Well, there's a problem, but the final text glazing the entrance doors. They should employ a sign writer and paint them in line with the shop front guide.
Okay, so proposer seconded for refusal. I'm not following the shop front guide. Do you wish to speak, councillor Clark?
I was just saying, we said it before, we need to go back over the shop front guide, so we're going to around the corner, we'll find a nice floor in the evening.
Yeah. Okay, all in favour of refusal? Unanimous, thank you. P 22/S2730/full Breakspears Muse New Street. Councillor Gavashan.
Propose acceptance.
Okay, seconded by councillor Clark. Anybody in favour of EV points? I think. Yeah, all in favour? That's carried, thank you. Sorry, did you have any sound? No, thank you. P 22/S2732/HH157 Reading Road. Councillor Gavashan.
Propose acceptance.
Okay, seconded by councillor Clark. Anybody else wish to speak? No, did you send it? Sorry. Got no comment. All in favour of approval? It's carried, thank you. P 22/S2732. Is that my phone? Is that my phone? Sorry about that. P 22/S2737/listed building. This is an excellent application, this.
Approval.
Okay, seconded by councillor. Are you a member of Henley Society?
I am,
I don't think you should be voting for this.
Well, anyway.
well, I haven't got a vested interest in it, I'm not profiting from it.
Can I just ask the chairman if that's, you're okay with councillor Hilly seconding this, chairman? Okay, right, thank you. Well, anybody else wish to speak on this? Okay, all in favour of that? I must apologise, this committee meeting going on a bit long, but we did get a bit held up at the start, but it was nothing to do with me, I can guarantee you. Councillor Gavashan was asking numerous questions, which delayed us a bit. Right, moving on to page 13, up top page 13, P 22/S2750/HH, 4 Bell Court, 66 E Bell Street. Councillor Gavashan.
Propose acceptance.
If you're going to accept. Okay. Propose
Is
accept.
that brief enough?
That's very good.
We might not mention ancillary use now, just I don't think they can change it further down the line. That's still pretty slow. Garage, garden rooms.
Yeah, okay with that. Anybody else wish to speak? No, all in favour, approval? That's carried, thank you. P 22/S2757/HH 43 St Mark's Road, Jen? No comment. Anybody, councillor Gavashak,
Propose acceptance.
seconded by councillor Plant, all in favour? It's carried, thank you. P 22/S2870/4 2A Wilson Avenue. I had a objection letter from 2 Wilson Avenue. I've also got an email from the applicant giving reasons why the objections were correct. So I think you've all had those letters. We have a speaker here, we have 3 speakers this evening on this application. Open to committee. Councillor Gavashak.
I'm going to propose acceptance of this. I think it's well designed. Yes, it is a property that is being shoehorned in, but it's the kind of property we want in Henley. 1 bedroom, and it will carry on down the food chain, if you like, in the future. It's the kind of development we want. I can't agree with the massing, and I can't agree with the pollution arguments, because it was a garage before, and so that's all I've got to say. I propose acceptance. Thank you.
And you second it, councillor.
I'll second it, and yeah, for consistency, from memory, we approved this one last time, there's been further amendments since then, so I think it's good for approval.
All right, thank you. Mr. Speak, or give a second here. Okay, do you wish to speak? Councillor Croft.
I'm refusal opposed to this because it's unneighbourly, it's do bear with me, I'm trying to get my words out. It's, what's the word, out of keeping with the area. And it's very near where the children are playing, and as we know, children and pollution, it's not good. Okay. And I can't be party to that will help. What's the word?